tell you a very quick fairy tale. But it's a fairy tale that illustrates the whole reason why we need to learn how to communicate effectively. You know how a fairy tale begins?
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time. Okay, so once upon a time, there lived a young man whose father was the king. One day, the young man got the news that his father had passed away, and this man now became king. In all the years, he hadn't really worried about what it meant to be the heir to the throne. He loved riding his chariots, he'd go up and down, play with his friends. He didn't take his responsibilities seriously because his father would live forever. And there was plenty of time, he could learn it one day. But now all of a sudden, he was the king. As the days went by, he started realizing this was a really big job. It was a difficult job. You can't just jump in and do it. You need something. So he went to the advisors who had served his father. He said to them, "Help me, tell me. Every night when I go to bed, I wake up with nightmares because I just don't know what's going on." And the advisors looked at him and they said, "We're not dream interpreters. We don't understand." But he said, as a king would, find out. They did what all good advisors and all good project managers do. www.google.ancientworld.com dream interpreter. And up popped a few different links. And they started searching through. They couldn't find the dream that the king had. But what they did find was the name of someone who interpreted dreams. So they called the man and they said, "Come and talk to the king. He has a dream. You need to name it to him." So the man came, ran into the auditorium and he said to the king, "King, tell me your dream. I will tell you the meaning." So the king looked at him and said, "Fine. I dream every night when I go to bed, all my teeth start falling out. And very soon I have no teeth. What does this dream mean?" The interpreter's face fell. "Alas, O king," he said, "alas, the news is bad. For the teeth represent your family, and the dream signifies that they will all die. And you, O king, will be left all alone." Everyone in the room fell silent. They all turned to look at the king to see how he would react. Even the king was silent for a moment. Then suddenly he leapt up. "Guards," he yelled, "get this man out of here. Put him in prison, for today he has insulted my house." And the guards came and they dragged the man, put him in chains, put him in prison. And his life was definitely not happily ever after. He lived in prison in chains the rest of his life. It didn't help the king though, because he still had the dreams. In fact, the dreams are probably even worse now. So he called his interpreter or his advisors again, and he said to them, "Find me someone who can tell me the real meaning." Little tip, when somebody says to you, "Find me the real meaning," that means whatever answer you got the last time, I don't like it. Give him a different answer. So the advisors went away, they found another interpreter and they brought him before the king. This interpreter stood respectfully before the king and said, "Your Majesty, tell me your dream. How can I be of assistance?" The king again related the dream, and as he spoke, the interpreter nodded. And then he smiled. "Your Majesty," he said, "the news is good. For the teeth represent your family, and the dream signifies you will have a long life. In fact, you will outlive all your relatives. Long live the king." The king looked at him, turned to the guards and yelled at them, "Bring me my purple robe, for from this day he becomes my chief advisor." And so we have the story of two interpreters. One whose words condemned him to a life of prison, of slavery, of bondage. And the other, an interpreter whose words, whose message, committed him to a life of power, of influence, of authority. The message they gave the king was the same, but the way in which they presented it was very different. And And the outcome, of course, is very different too. Now, you have a choice in your communication to decide whether you want to be that first interpreter. The very things that you say and do make sure that you will never amount to much. You will live a life of bondage. Or you can be someone who recognizes the power of effective communication and whose words and whose actions elevate you to a position where you are not necessarily the king. You're in a position that's even better than the king, because you can tell the king what to do, but you don't have the authority. It doesn't work. Which you want to be is your choice. And what we want to do for the next 2 hours or so is just to talk about how we can create that sort of communication that builds us up, that elevates us, particularly when we are dealing with tough stakeholders, people who are difficult or who we perceive to be difficult. Now, one thing I do not want to do is to stand here and talk at you, to lecture you for the next 2 hours, for a number of reasons. One, I can't talk that long. Well, actually, I could, but you can't listen that long, and that's true. You get bored. More importantly, though, you actually wouldn't learn from it. You need to get something out of today, which is more than just a fun time or a couple of stories. I want you to walk out of here with some skills and some tools and some techniques that you know are going to address your problems. So what I'd like you to do, just for a few moments, is to turn to the people at your table and to share with them what one thing would you like to get out of today. One tool, a technique, a principle, a story, a PDU. No, anything except the PDU. Some reason you've already got that. I can't give it to you anymore. But anything else that you would like out of here, just quickly share on your table, and then I'll just get a few of you to share the ideas back to the rest of